long, but I guess the thing that impressed me most about him was just how much of a regular guy he is. I mean, just like most of us are just regular, normal people. Ed first got involved with this UFO phenomena when he was a young man. Like many of us, he saw some stuff. And he knew we were not alone, and so he was hooked. Now, at some point, not really too long ago, Ed became aware of night vision goggles. Yeah, enhanced ability to see in the dark. And he thought about it. And as far as I know, he's the only one that really thought about trying to put this technology to work to possibly see what was in the night skies. And guys, the rest is history. Because Ed can go out almost any place on the planet, almost any night, anywhere that there are clear skies, and he can show you UFO activity. It's almost Grand Central Station up there, okay? That's how much activity and coming and going there is really up there. Guys, we're in for a treat. Please welcome Ed Grimsley.
Is my speaker working? Ooh, it's working. How you do? I'm Ed Grimsley. I'm just regular old Ed, and some people call me Special Ed, but but anyway, about 10 years old, I was hiking on Mount Santa Helena in the Napa Valley area near my home of Calistoga. And we used to hike and hunt and fish, and I grew up in the woods, and that's why I kind of look like a bear. But it's amazing when you go out someplace and you don't expect to see something, and you're looking out, and somebody says, a flying saucer. And you turn and you look, and you're 10, 11 years old, and here comes a giant saucer, and it pulls up, and it's off the tip of the mountain, about 200 yards away, and it just pulls up and sits there, and you're holding still, and you're looking at it. And my father's saying, don't move, it's a UFO. And I says, I know. And then another one pulls up and comes in behind it, and it stops, and they're both just sitting there. And I'm, kind of stupid as a kid, haven't grown out of it all, but in turn, I put my hand up, and I took my hand like this, and my dad said, hold still. I says, they know we're here. And I went like this, real slow. I didn't want to get shot for thinking I had a weapon, When I looked and did that, my dad says, hold still, damn it. And the front one that came up first, it just sat there. And the other one that it came up, when I waved and did that, it went like this. And my dad says, I'll be damned. And then a split second later, the first one went, gone. The other one steadied for a second, gone. And my dad looked at me, and I looked back at him. He says, are you going to tell people about this? And I looked at him, and at 11 or 10, I said, only those people who will listen. And my dad says, I don't know if we should talk about it. They're going to think you're crazy. And I says, that's okay. Well, I told a few people, got laughed at, got ignored. They thought, Ed's, one of those special kids that needs help. So I went on, and I always knew they were there, but what they were doing, who they were, are they part of the God system? Are they part of what created the earth, or controlling the earth, or are they exploring the earth? Did they bring us here to start with and checking us out to see if we're being good? I don't know. But when I was 16 years old, I was at a hunting camp. And we were getting the camp ready for deer season. And it was a Thursday night, and deer season would start Saturday morning. So some of our hunting party were there. I stretched out, was laying in my sleeping bag, and I looked up and I said, whoa, those stars are moving. Looking up, and these things look like crystally diamonds because the sky, we were about 7,500 feet elevation where we were hunting, and the sky was crystal clear, and everything that was up there you could see. These craft were coming together on head-on runs like this, 2 and 3, flying through each other, firing as they got near each other, blowing each other up and passing on by and firing out the back at each other. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm not dreaming this, you know? And I started yelling to everybody in the camp and everything. I yelled, Dad, get out here. There's a bunch of spacecraft overhead and they're fighting with each other. My dad says, shut up and go back to sleep, you're dreaming. And I said, no, Dad. So he crawls out the tent and he rolls up onto his back and he looks and he goes, holy crap. He said, that's for real. And so I yelled to the campsite that was next to us. And the campsite next to us was yelling back. And then pretty soon they were yelling to people. And this whole camp area of deer hunters that we had known over the years that would come back and camp in the same area, and they're laying out there on their backs in the middle of the campground at 9 o'clock at night watching spacecraft. And there was numbers and numbers and numbers of them. And maybe is that louder? Okay. I guess I should talk more to this side. So, anyway, these craft were literally flying in an air battle, like as if it was a Star Wars movie that hadn't been thought of yet. And you would see 2 or 3 coming from one direction and one with another group, and one get blown up and the other one break and try to get away. And they'd go chasing him and firing on him, and he'd be firing back. And after about an hour and a half, my dad says, well, I'm going back to bed. And I go, what? You can't go back to bed. Oh, the Armageddon battle or whatever's going on. He says, no. He says, I don't know who they are. I don't know what they're fighting about. And my .270 deer rifle won't reach them. And he says, you have to get up and go to Reno with me tomorrow to get groceries and supplies, so I'll be taking you with me. And I go, okay. So I stayed up that whole night, and I started being really intelligent, and I started counting how many I saw blow up, and boom, and they're gone. And that night, from 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, until about 5:36 in the morning, when the first light came up and it got too bright to see, I counted over 45 craft get blown up and explode, probably 150, 200 miles above Earth. And to me, it was an experience like at 16 years old, what is going on? And that made me think the whole day, who am I? Who are they? My dad called the Air Force Base because I was jamming on him. Dad, you got to call him. He called, the first guy that answered from Reno says, well, yeah, we've had a whole bunch of reports about that kind of something going on. And he said, I'll put you through who handles that. And he put him through to who was handling it. And that guy was a total nerd. He was a professional idiot. And he gave my dad a bunch of crap and talked to my dad. And my dad says, you're doing nothing but lying to me. And he says, well, it's probably meteorite showers now. And he says, well, the other guy said there was a bunch of reports of that. And he goes, what did he say? And so I argued the point. My dad said, it's my dime and I'm not wasting it. So he hung up on the guy. And all my life I knew that when I was small I saw those, and if you told people about it, they thought you were crazy. Now, when I'm 16, how do you go tell people that you've seen 1,000 craft that night and 45 of them blow up? Well, you got witnesses. Problem is, when you go to school and you tell your best friends, I saw this big battle and they were blowing each other up. They, yeah, good, thanks, Ed. Glad to know that. Well, anyway, I told my science class, because, you know, science class, science teachers are supposed to be scientists. Well, I got a bunch of guff out of them, laughed at. So I stood up, I told my science teacher off real good, and told him there was nothing that I could learn from him because he was an idiot. And he didn't like that. And so I had to take another class. I had to take another class for the rest of that year. But I know one thing. You got to be careful while telling the truth, because a lot of people can believe, but they won't know because they didn't see it. Well, I had seen other things happen, but in 1997, I had sold some property I had, went to a gun show in Reno, and saw these pair of night vision glasses, the PVS-7s type 3 generation. And their quality, they're a lot like what the military uses on most of the soldiers. They clip on the helmet. And they look like this because this is them. And I have the eyepieces off so that if I want to film, I can take a PVC fitting that MacGyver and I worked on, and you can stick it on there, and then a little hard drive movie camera that can zoom up to 40 power, and you would slip it in here, anybody out there that's deaf? You will be when it's over. Anyway, and you mount this here, put a little MacGyver duct tape on it to hold it in place, and then you can look through one side, push the button, technical help. But anyway, maybe it's the position. Okay. Testing. Okay. Here's my technical helper.
You can just keep talking.
Can anybody tell I'm a character?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, by hooking this in, that'll work. Good job. I don't care what they say about your work, you're all right. Now, putting this PVC fitting on here and grinding a little spot here and there to make it fit part of the camera, you can slip it on there, get it fitted in, and then you can turn the camera on standby. And when you photo, you just reach up and push the button on the camera and fire it up to record. Fire it again to standby. And then you can get some real good pictures. So when you're looking and you got a group of people, you hand out some glasses to them and they look, and you do this thing and help spot them. And in doing that, when you find something, you can't say, oh, over there by the big star, because when you look through these glasses, there's 5 million big stars. So you carry a laser and you point, and when you point, the laser guides you right to the craft or the target. And what's so funny is that sometimes they'll respond to getting hit with a laser and they'll dug out of the way. I'm just glad they don't fire back. So, and when this happens, the people that are with you can pick up and find them right away. So by picking up and finding them right away, it makes it quick because, see, there's types that will cross the sky from as miles away to as far as you can see the other way, and some of those spacecraft can pass in 5 to 7 seconds just and be gone. So you got to be quick on it and see it. But you're also going to see heaps and heaps of airplanes, birds, bats, moths, and they're going to flutter by and get you excited. You'll see something and you, oh, that was a bird. And by teaching people the right way to use these, and what I've been doing for 12 years, you can go out on any night that it's a clear sky and you can find UFOs, birds, bats, bugs, satellites, and it's pretty amazing. And you'll see some things that you're not going to believe. Now, one of the things that totally scared the hell out of me, and I don't scare that easy, I'm kind of a bad hombre, but I was out and I had my German Shepherd with me in the front yard of my construction place, and I'm looking out and everything is fine, and my dog is standing beside of me and I'm just looking out with the glasses and looking up, and my dog starts to growling because he's nocturnal, he's got night vision, he doesn't need a pair of glasses. So anyway, I hear him just really getting upset more and more, and I look down with the glasses and I see where he's looking, and he's like this, looking out. So I go like this and I look out, and here's this thing that looked like a human being with a cape fluttering behind it. And hello? Is this better? Okay. It's good to have a bit. You know,
they're going to cut your lavalier mic, and then they're going to raise the sound on your handheld mic. So use the handheld mic.
Am I here? Technical help. Do we have to squeeze down?
Just keep talking into it so they can do a sound check.
Hello? Hello? Anybody home? Are we all right now? You guys might be all right, but I never will be. So now, what you've got is this thing is flying out there. It's about 300 yards away, and it's got its arms out in front of it or whatever they were, and it looks like a Superman flying, and it's got this cape dangling behind it, waving, and it's going about the speed of a bicyclist along the road, 15, 20 miles an hour. And I'm looking and I'm going, oh my God, what in the... And my dog is going... And it looks over at me, and it turns its arms like this, looks at me and turns its arms, and then it's like its arms are directing it, and it starts heading over and down at me. And I said, come on, Duke. And and Duke and I hit the door of my house. We slammed on the lights. We had all the doors locked. We had the 12 gauge ready to go, and a 350 Magnum, 357 Magnum. And I'm sitting there, and Duke goes by the front door, and I go, come here, come here. And he's going, Rrr. And I left all the lights out, and I'm sitting there with my night vision glasses to see what's coming in the door. Well, I spent about 3 hours awake before I finally gave up and fell asleep. And it never came in, and I don't know what it was doing outside, and I don't care. And later, I talked to Tom about it, that's with the Nori show, the engineer. Right into it? Okay. So, are we okay? Okay. Maybe I could just put it in the corner of my mouth. But Tom told me, well, that sounds like Mothman. And I said to him, Tom, what is Mothman? And he explained, it's this creature that's been rumored and talked about, and it's a human-like body, has a cape, and it can fly around, and at some place there was a farmer somewhere that had one in a tree, and he shot it, and it had green blood. Am I glad I didn't have to shoot it? Could you picture up cleaning green stuff out of your front room? But anyway, that was a scary experience. I've seen flying saucers from when I first got the glasses to right now. I've seen them come by me 500-600 feet above me, and you couldn't see them with the naked eye, but you caught a glimpse of them with the glasses, and then you followed them. And I'm going to tell you, there's different shapes, different sizes, but they're totally beautiful. It's awesome. I wouldn't mind having a couple of rides in one. So there's people here in the audience. I can't see because I'm a deer in the headlights here. And if you guys could stand up that have the night vision glasses.
Hold the mic closer. You have to hold that mic right straight, not to the side. No. Right there.
Right there. I wish they had told me this earlier. Okay, over here, announce yourself real loud because your mic is broke. Guys, you're here.
My name is Dean Morrison from Maryland. Came out to join Ed with his night searches. Was inspired by his talks on the radio. So far, I've seen some things, and I hope while I'm out here to see much more.
And they'll be part of the people helping you on Night Watch, Sky Watch. When we come out, you'll be meeting them. And this fellow right here is a dentist. His name is Gary, and he can introduce himself. Now, Gary, yell really loud, Gary.
My name is Gary Fredrickson. I visited Ed. I saw a tree do this. Obviously not satellite, so I got it there. So I'm here to help out.
Yeah. So you see, Gary and them are just a couple of people that prove to you that I'm only half crazy. Okay. Now, Gary and I and about 5 people that were at the Skywatch had a really interesting and great experience. I had seen it before and never able to film it because I had a camera off and was letting someone else see it. You know, I got about that much space. Yeah. So anyway, in turn, Gary was sitting on a chair looking through my goggles. He says, Ed, you might want to film this. And I looked up and he says, there's 3 big ones coming in. And there was 3 big spacecraft that makes this entire room look itty-bitty. And they were flying in a diamond formation coming in from deep space. And I would say they had probably 1.5 miles between them. And there was one on the tip, one on the right corner, and one on the left corner. And they were coming down from deep space. And they shallowed out closer to Earth, and they came overhead about 150 miles high. And I videoed it. And in videoing it, we got to see them change their directions, change course, and synchronize. And this whole thing is about a 2-mile area. And they're lit up. And they're shining in the sunlight. And in turn, they drop down and out over the ocean beyond Bodega Bay in California. It drops in out of the sunlight and drops down and descends into the darkness, and I can still see part of them, but I can't see all the way to the ocean because there's a couple little mountains in between. But their path, their pattern, and everything, away they go, and they're dropping down, descending in the ocean. So I'm pretty happy about that shot because I've seen them go into the ocean before. I've seen them come out of the ocean, but it's never when I have this hooked up. It's like, then they won't give me their schedule. So now I'm buying more pairs, making adjustments to have this done and hook up and keep a pair ready to go. I've got some pretty good footage that will amaze you. One of the other good stories is we were back at Albuquerque, New Mexico last year to the Tesla Energy Convention. And there's people here, I think Steve that is here, and a number of people were there. And we had like 30 people standing out around the pool of the resort that we were staying at. So we brought the night visions out and set up a video camera on one, set up a big screen TV. And when we did, we had a big mothership flying about 200 miles up above us, flew in, came to a stop, and let craft out to go on patrol. And I was yelling, "Hey, the big mothership!" And George Gavori was holding the camera and filming it. And George saw the big ship, but thought it was a big star. And so he's looking all around it. So then he catches up as they're going out. And today you're going to get to see 7 craft flying out of a big mothership as they are about 150 to 200 miles up, and they fly out and they exit in formation, and they are gone, and they are real. And that's one of the things I'm going to show you. Okay? Is the video person ready back there? Can you turn on the disc and give us that the one with the out of the UFO wars? Hello? Can you kill these lights down, or there?
4 of them. 4 of them.
There's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, take the laser off.
Whoa.
Take the laser off. Take the laser off.
That's the wrong film.
They're making a look at 2 are separating. They're going. The 2 are squadroning
This is
over.
on my website. And
Hey, these
just
don't
some
exist, you
footages
guys.
there.
So
I
we're
don't know
just
how
all
we
seeing
got
the
that.
same thing, okay? Wow. Yeah.
There. The one that's on there says UFOs, and it says squadron. Play the part that says squadron, and it'll show the ones that are flying out across. And whenever you want to, just start and I'll go along with it. There we go. This happened in Albuquerque, and you'll see some come out, and these are spacecraft. Fly, there they come. Those are about 200 miles up, and those are in a squadron. There's 7 of them. There's 2 together at the very back side, and they will part. And you'll see that there's 2 of them. In a little bit, we've magnified some stuff. And right now, they're getting ready to part the 2 back ones. There's actually an 8th one. There was a moth fluttered by there, so you can tell what a moth looks like. See the 2 back? The 2 back ones on the left are going to separate a little bit, and these things are doing about 30, 40,000 miles an hour across the sky. And here it is, magnification. That is a fleet of UFOs. So now, believe me or not, you've all seen some UFOs. Okay. Thank you. I'm going to move now. Now, This right here is some very beautiful footage, and if you believe me, you're seeing the real thing. And they're flying out of a big mothership and have left, and they're flying out to go on patrol. And when I tell you that the skies and our Earth is being patrolled, that's because it is. I got no reason to come here free and tell you a lie. That scares me because I know that the government's been lying to us for a long time. And thank you. That's part of a movie that a little DVD that Jose. Now, can we see some of the raw footage? The next one in line. We might as well go ahead with it now, so that people will think I'm telling the truth. Play it now. So anyway, you need to understand that our young people are distressed because they know our government's lying to us. You believe they are, and I know they are. And if you don't get in line and put your hands together and tell each other what's true and stand up for your rights, in a short time you're not going to have... At UFO show in San Jose, showed him spacecraft because I told him I could.
I got it right there.
Okay, look at how fast that one's going.
This is a Skywatch and they're recording.
The white. And you notice how it's weird shape?
Or sometimes you'll see
It's kind of a wide shape.
but
Not so much a round, but it's wide.
size ones fly.
In other words,
by and
up
you
and
can
down
film them.
height-wise. Well, go up and ask it if you don't believe me. Now it's...
Oh, see the fast one?
What was that?
Some flashing. Great satellite.
You lost it. It's going the other way.
Try to pick out movement and things flying
white
around
streak.
because those are UFOs.
There we go. Got one.
There's one.
Okay,
It's a
see
good
that
size
one going
one.
across to the left?
Probably 200 or 300 miles up. Big round disc.
That is a
And
spacecraft.
believe me, it's big. It's probably
It's
about
traveling
600
too
700
fast
feet
for a
across.
satellite,
Where's the name?
and it's also too big.
There is a little.
He's over here.
It's not making any U-turn.
Okay, somebody's head's in the way. I'm sorry.
Okay, it. Yeah.
That's a laser pointing another one out who is right there, and he is hauling butt. This guy is doing about 70, 80,000 miles an hour. Satellites can't even move close to his speed.
He's turning out.
And he's huge and he's glowing. And sometimes those size will stop in mid-space and hold still and look exactly like a star and then start out again. And sometimes there'll be craft fly into them that are smaller, and sometimes they'll fly out. But you will see all that kind of stuff. And if you're really good with this camera, which I'm not, you'll keep that camera on there, and with night vision you'll film this kind of stuff. Now, this thing actually moves a couple times and changes its angle, but it's very hard to hold these after an hour or two and look around and show people. But that's just a little bit of it.
What's good is he's centered right in the camera.
Yeah, you actually get pretty good at
So,
You know, in probably 5-10 years, I'll have this down.
that's a laser pointing it out to some of the people in the group. I think it's about over. Yep. Hey, thank you very much for that, guy. You know, you guys would be amazed if you looked backstage and all the equipment and the computer goodies and the leverages and everything back there. I don't know how they got anything done. It's too confusing back there. But now, in a couple minutes, I'm going to invite you to see and meet Jose Escamilla. And he and I got together, Dr. Roger Lear put us together, and we're having a good time working on some of our footages and our film, and it's an awesome thing. But reason why we have a lot of problems with society right now and not being told the truth and being lied to by NASA, I know so much more than I could sit here and tell you. I have people that are retired and heads of NASA that come to me and secretly talk to me and let me know what's going on. And I can't tell you their names, and I don't want to lose their retirement. I have a general that was in the military. And on this thing, there's a lady that is Earth Defense League, and her husband, Mark, was a pilot flying back engineered spacecraft and then tried to quit. That's like trying to tell the mafia you don't want to play anymore. So they framed him for murder. He's in prison doing life, and she's trying to get him out. And he can't talk about what he did for the United States space program and the fleet that's flying and defending Earth. And there are missions going out into deep space. There's battles going on out there. And when you see battles go on inside of the Earth's realm, is still in space, when those things get blown up with each other, the debris continues in space until it slows up and drops in, and it's like a piece of meteorite or space junk, so you're never knowing the difference. And I want to tell you, I think there's some evil things going on, and I think they're trying to control you every corner they can, and I'm just hoping that the good side wins. And I don't know if it's the good, the bad, and the ugly fighting, but it's real. And I hope that you people can pull together, form an alliance where you look for the truth. And when your government says they're going to do this or do that, you need to stand up and be a social group, a citizens alliance. Because if you don't stick together, you're going down. And I don't think we have much time left to stand together. So I think you need to start doing it. Now, there's just crazy things happening to you. When the President of the United States says that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights is just a damn piece of paper, I think they should have drug him down the hallway, beat on him, and put him on trial for treason. And, you know, I used to be really tough, and now I'm just really old, but I'm still tough at being old. And I personally would like to get George Bush in an ultimate fight ring and kick the crap out of him, because what he's done to our country and our world is totally wrong, and we, the people, did not stop him soon enough, and now we're paying for it. And rather he is a Nazi, a New World Order, or just a total retard, idiot, he's still what he is. And you know whose fault it is that he got a second term? Or the computer that jammed the election. Could you ask Jose to come out? I'd like to introduce him. I like this. Jose, he's actually a lot taller than this. Especially if I give him the stand, and he can talk to you here. And Roger Lear and he introduced us and said maybe we could work together. And I had a lot of knowledge. I had some things, and this guy he has so much knowledge and wisdom Well, he's much older than I am.
Yeah.
But I want to turn you over to Jose because I could pick on him all day. Here you go.
Thank you. Thanks, Ed. Testing, testing. Can you hear me okay out there?
Where's the mic? Did I do okay?
You did very good. All right, we're kind of running out of time, but what I wanted to do is Ed came on board. Roger introduced us. I'll never forgive Roger for introducing us. All puns intended. No. Ed stepped up to the plate when I needed funding for my film, and he was one of the first guys that came on and said, you know what, I think the moon rising film is valid. It's a valid project, and I'd like to get involved. So he became one of my executive producers on it. I want to applaud him, you know. It's hard to get people involved when you're a filmmaker, especially if no one believes in the phenomenon that you're presenting. So, you know, I give him props. And plus, you know, he has some very interesting phenomenon going on up in space. And anyone that's seen his UFO Wars DVD or has gone sky watching with him will verify. I mean, George Noory did not even think it was real until he saw him with his own eyes. Some major celebrities that he's shown UFOs to, and you know, he's done the gamut. So I really applaud him for that. But the reason I'm here is I want to give you guys a sneak preview of the first opening minutes of my film Moon Rising, which will be finally released in mid-March. I had the opportunity of presenting it, world premiere of it, at the Emmys Theater in Hollywood, California, which was really great. A lot of people showed up, got a lot of support from it, and we're going to make the film available mid-March, and it deals with everything you've ever wanted to know about NASA. I decided to put a film together that doesn't cover the same stuff everybody else is doing. That's one thing about the moon. You got tons of documentaries out there. So I had to bring something that was totally different, that had not been touched on, and we found out some things that in that film is just going to make a big impression on a lot of people. I started colorizing the moon, airbrushing it, because I wanted to make a poster for my movie. And this is explained in the sequence here. But as it turned out, I started seeing anomalies just popping out at you because, you know, in black and white, we've been told all these years, 40 years plus, that the moon is nothing but a gray, desolate piece of rock, which it is not. And I recently discovered, about 2 months ago, the same thing that John Lear has been telling people since 2006, that there are full-color photographs of the moon. How many people have known this? A few people, you know, in the know. And what I've done is I immediately, as soon as I found this website, I downloaded over 3,000 photos. And I'm talking high-resolution, big photos. Towards the end of this sequence, you're going to see some full-color, natural color of the moon. And I'm planning to do a large-screen format film. I'm calling it The Planet Moon. You can go to theplanetmoon.com. You'll see what's there. But this is going to be a full-color presentation of the moon for the first time in the history of us. That NASA has not, you know, they didn't bother to tell us that there's full-color photographs. They just said, well, this is what it is. It's black and white. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and let them start the tape and enjoy. This is part of Moon Rising. Thanks. Thank you.
On January 25th, 1994, the deep space program science experiment known as Clementine was launched from Vandenberg Air Force Base. Clementine was able to deliver more than 1.8 million digital images between February 26th and April 22nd, 1994. These images were quickly accessible to the general public on the World Wide Web. In 1994, President Clinton cited the Clementine mission as one of the major national achievements in aeronautics in space.
By going to the Clementine Lunar Image Browser 1.5, you can find many images that have been smudged or blurred to keep you from seeing what is there. Click on the desired resolution section and choose 1 pixel equals 1 kilometer option. Then by going to the image size in pixels option, choose 768 by 768. You are now ready to see for yourself a huge object on the surface of the moon. On the moon map, you will easily see a dot on the top of this crater and on the lower left. Click on the black dot on top of the crater and a close-up image of this section appears in the browser. What you see is a huge object resting at the top of this crater. It appears to be a large machine or perhaps a large spaceship or a motor of some kind. You can clearly see this photograph has been smudged over and blurred so we cannot see the details. This little gem was discovered and brought to the attention of moon researchers all over the world by Joseph P. Skipper on May 28, 2004. I decided to hire an imaging forensics expert to take this photo and to try and remove the blurring to reveal what is underneath. Jim Horrocks, an imaging forensics expert who has worked with the Los Angeles Police Department, was sent this photo, and his findings were written in a report he submitted to the production. First of all, the astounding measurements he made reveal an object that is 10 times the size of Los Angeles. 10 times the size. This in itself is an incredible detail about the size of this object. By using Adobe Photoshop and some of the filters available within the program, we were able to see more of the details that were lost due to the blurring applied by whoever did this for NASA and the Clementine mission archives. This enormous object seems to be some form of a machine or possibly a spacecraft. In all the enhancements made independently, it appears there may have been what appears to be a giant humanoid wearing a jumpsuit and possibly working on the front portion of this contraption. This may or may not be a giant humanoid. Perhaps the shadows seem to reflect something of a human form. We will never know until NASA releases this photograph unblurred and with the clarity available for us to see. By clicking on the new lunar map now available, you will now see that the same crater is available for viewing in all its clarity. There is no object there anymore, and there is no smudging of anything near or within the crater. We have to ask ourselves, if there is nothing on the moon that suggests alien moon bases, strange structures, machines, and possible civilizations thriving there, then why has there been a deliberate tampering of these and thousands of images we will present here in this film? One of the many challenges I had to deal with in making this film was how the structures on the moon were to be presented. Unfortunately, most of all the Apollo and orbiter photos are black and white. Many photos are in low resolution, so zooming into them for a closer look causes the photos to blur and become pixelated, making it impossible to see details of what's on the surface. While I was designing a poster for the film in Photoshop, I decided that I did not want a black and white photo in the background of the poster. So I decided to color the background image I was using so I would have a full color poster for the film. I took some full color aerial photos of landscapes that closely resemble the distances of the moon's surface, turned them into black and white photos, and compared them to the moon photo I was about to airbrush. Noticing the different shades of the aerials from Earth and the colors represented, I then started making a color palette in Photoshop. All I did was airbrush the colors onto the moon photo as they appeared on Earth. But the structures and other objects on the moon revealed themselves. I was so overwhelmed at the results, I have now colorized over 247 photos. Now that I had come up with a format and a routine for colorizing the moon, I decided to gather the most famous Apollo moon anomaly photos that researchers from all over the world had been presenting for years and decided to colorize them. This is one of the many original NASA photos that has some very unique anomalies, especially here in this area. This is what it looks like after we bring up the contrast to eliminate the brightness applied to distort the image. And this is what it looks like after applying my colorizing process to it. So remember, these are colors and tones I used from Earth photography applied to the moon's surface. With Earth colors applied, you can see all the details with depth perception as never before.
By painting the moon with Earth colors and tones, we can now see what has been there all along for us to view.
The Hubble telescope has taken the most incredible photography of deep space and far off in the vast universe. When you see these spectacular scenes, you can't help but wonder how many others live out there. So when NASA was asked by scientists and astronomers when the Hubble telescope would be used in photographing the moon, NASA's reply was that because the moon was too bright, it would be impossible to get accurate photography of the moon. The first photo was released from the Hubble Space Telescope in 1999. Needless to say, the scientists and astronomers were not too pleased at how NASA had deliberately lied to them. When I heard about this photograph, I thought for sure we would see the moon in full color. But of all the photos taken by the Hubble telescope of the moon, they are in black and white. After colorizing all these photos, you can't help but learn the moon's layout. After all, it is a small planet compared to Earth.
Prepare yourself for an incredible expedition as we now take you back to the moon on a voyage filled with mystery and secrecy. This is your personal voyage to the moon. Join us as we venture to what may be the closest inhabited planet near Earth.
There's a bit off on this monitor, so. There are many objects like this in the film. David Farida brought them to the surface. He calls them dropas. It turns out there's hundreds of them in these photos in full color. And they're beautiful turquoise, a real deep blue, but they are not on the surface of the moon. They're actually hovering. There's photographs that show the shadow being cast by these things. And this is one of the most spectacular ones right there. This one right here. Real deep turquoise. This is the crater Astracharis. I can't pronounce Astracharis. Speaking the English. But anyway, I know that we're running out of time, running into the lunch hour. So I just wanted to present a little bit of the film. It'll be available online mid-March, around the 15th, 20th, around there, and in full color. But thank you for giving me a little time here. Thank you. Thank you, Bob. See you. Thanks.
Well, are we there? No. Okay, I'd like to thank you and Bob Brown for the opportunity to be here and tell you the way it is. And if you don't believe me, so what?
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a little bit of a lunch break right now, and those of you that want to participate in the meet and greet, if you want to pick up a lunch sandwich or whatever at the snack bar,